Hi and welcome. As you can see, the location's a little bit different this week. I'm sitting in the camper when I should actually be working. We've decided to give it a good spring clean, with springtime arriving on the island at the weekend and the clocks going forward on Saturday night. We're looking forward to having extra daylight hours like you all are in the evening and getting out and being able to do a few bits and pieces that we want to do in the garden and such in the evenings after dinner. So we're really looking forward to that. And also my sister and her family are arriving next week for a week's holidays, so we're super excited. When we have the camper here and we have visitors come, we really benefit from having an extra bedroom, really, because that's what we use it for when people come to visit us. And it's great because everyone enjoys spending time in it and it's so comfy and cozy. This week John has been busy on the land, as he always is. I haven't been there so much recently because with work and one thing and another I've been super busy. But this week John will show you the methods he used in the construction of the base of the shed and how his thought process and how we put it all together. We've decided that we will make a couple of different videos to document how John builds the shed, and so that you can enjoy it, because he has used some really clever techniques and he's trying to make the most out of a very small space. I hope that you enjoyed this week's video and that you stick around for the upcoming ones of the shed. Okay, bye.
Going to use this as a workbench for some of this project. It just helps, it sort of gives me a little bit of space, and I'm working at waist level more so than being down on the ground.
These are the main materials that I'm going to use. It's galvanized C-section and OSB board.
This is the base or the floor of the small shed. It's 3 meters by 1 meter 500, and you know, unfortunately, that's all they'll let me build over there. Crazy, but hey, however. I wouldn't have been looking for a huge, massive, monstrous shed, but I would have been looking for something maybe twice the size of that anyway. But however, it's to store tools and to put the generator in and other things. As we go along, we'll see how we get on with it. But I'm naturally going to stagger the sheets. So this one over here is like almost a half a sheet. This one then is a full sheet, and then I will stagger it down here again. And there's a 245 millimeter cut for the end of it, for the side of it, sorry, and I will stagger that as well. I will screw all of this together. I will be using a galvanized frame both underneath it and on the top, so it's really good to galvanize. It's resistant to rot and resistant to the insects and everything that are here, so, and it's very light. So just a quick recap on what it is that I'm doing here. I've marked out a area 800 millimeters by 800 millimeters, which will be the main housing for the generator. I've come in 72 mil either side here and here, and I have left it that there's more area to the front than there is to the back, and I'm going to cut out this section here where these marks are in a square, which will take out the main corner here. This will then be a concrete pad 500 millimeters by 500 millimeters to the level of this. I will then put a rubber mat on the top of it, which will stop the resonation from the generator going down into the concrete, going down into the ground. So it's a kind of a thing that architects and engineers use, the likes of beside railway tracks and roads and everything, where they use dense rubber to take away some of the resonance or the vibration out of the roads or the railway tracks. So I'm kind of working on that theory that if I keep buffering in it down and keep taking each increment one step at a time to try and relieve it, at the end of the day I should get a reasonable result. I have it that it's 700 millimeters in from this side, and then the rest is just whatever's left. I think this comes to the dead center, which is 1,500 mil, or if you want it in millimeters or centimeters, it's okay. And then that way the surrounding things which is inside of the shed should allow some deadening or densing of the sound. That's what the theory is anyway, so we'll see. I don't know if you can see it here, but this is where a piece of this kind of stuff will go, and I'm going to put insulation down into that, and if there's any wires or cables or anything that I want to run through, I can, which will keep it away from the generator. This here will be 50 mil of the OSB stock. Here will be a 50 millimeter gap, which will allow air to ventilate up through the floor. And then this will be the 500 by 500 concrete, same all around. And then in the front I've left 100 millimeters because there's more of a requirement for air there with the way that the generator is built, and it will give more of an airflow this way, back up and then out. So I have finished the base frame in the steel part of it. I think it's very, very strong. I built it that way. One of the main criterias that the planners had in order for me to be allowed to build this shed was that I was to build this in a part of the land which was agricultural, which I'm okay with, and it couldn't be attached to the ground, as in concrete, a concrete pad or a concrete footings or foundations. And when the house is built, they were sort of saying that maybe we'd look at the possibility of putting it back up to where the house is built and putting it underneath part of the elevations of the building. They were talking about it being like a cave. They have different ways and different terminologies than we have, for sure. Why they would ask me to do that, I don't know. But however, I'm not going to attach it to a concrete pad or anything, which is why I've built it strong and I've built it this way. Now the only thing that will be attached to the concrete is a 600 millimeter square block for the generator. So we've been through sort of the thought pattern where the resonance won't go through the entire shed, it'll go into the concrete. So that will be easily had or easily taken up if need be. And then I will show you how I intend to connect this or to place it. This is the units that I have made. I made them for a tiny house that I built, and this is some of them that were left over, and they are extremely strong and extremely accurate when it comes to leveling a frame like this. So this is a kind of an upside down version of it, so to speak, but this section of the frame, which I've made strong, will go under this, or on top of this, sorry, on top of it, because we're upside down. And as you require, you can let these up or down. So the bottom part of it here is locked, so that goes to the floor. And then this you can let it up or down. And then on the top you have a lock nut, so when you get it to the level that you require, the level that you want, and you have it nicely done, you tighten that down. Extremely accurate, within frightening accuracy in relation to these, and continuously. So, you know, if you get a little bit of movement or a little bit of subsidence, you can actually physically just get under and move these up or down because of where I'm going to put them in. I'm going to put them in about 100 to 150 millimeters from the edge here. I need air underneath it because I don't want to trap it. so the airflow, and it will look like as if it's kind of like as if it's floating. The strap there going from one corner to the next is so that I can pull it and square it. It was out about 15 millimeters, which meant that I needed to move it over to equal it out about 7.5 to 8 millimeters. So that's why that's there. And then when I did correct that, I screwed in those diagonal pieces there so that it will hold it. Some of you might be looking and wondering, why am I doing these sort of things with the cuts in them? This is material that I have left over from previous projects, and it's just, if you keep a hold of it, you don't waste any of it. And individual sections like this where you need the strength, then you have the stock to sort of put it together, and it certainly cuts down on the expense of it and adds to the strength of it. I've been told in the past that I put too many screws in things. I do not believe that for a second. See this? As far as I'm concerned, that box of screws is as cheap as chips. And right there, when you've got it beside the steel, is the time to put those into whatever it is that you're building. If you don't, they can be weaker. See this? This one won't go anywhere. That's strong. Strength is what I'm looking for in this overall. Long term, I'm looking for the strength. This box of screws, closed up, nice and shiny, they'll stay shiny forever. Nice and shiny, like that, in the shed, is useless. It serves no purpose, and you will have them forever, but there's no point. They are cheap right now when you have the opportunity to put plenty of them in. They're self-tapping screws, so they're easy to put in as well. Some of them, when I'm looking for a little bit more accuracy, I will pre-drill them with a 3.5 millimeter hole, and then pop the screw into them. That's where you need to fine tune it a little bit. And when I say fine tune it, I like this kind of a finish. This is what I'm going for. I'm not going to settle really for anything less. I never do, and I never will. So, you know, it's like paint. If you buy an extremely good grade of paint and then you put a load of water in it, you're kind of defeating the purpose of buying the good paint. This is nice, and it's in full bloom at the moment. And this is a kind of right at the edge of a big rock face that's here, and I don't know whether you can hear it or not, but it's alive with a humming sound of insects just thriving on all of that pollen. The rock that this is growing at, parts of it are very, very hard. As the saying goes, hard as a rock. But then there are pockets of it that are softer, and you can almost tell where the softer rock is, because that's where the lizards go for. And the lizards burrow through the softer rock and make their homes in it. It's actually quite cool. It can be a little bit scary, because if we have the car or something here, you will often hear small rocks falling, and if they fall on the car, they'll dint it. It's happened to us already, but they obviously don't want the rock, same as we don't, and they excavate it out and remove it. As I've sort of mentioned to you guys, that I'm putting this together now, and then I'm taking it apart. So as part of these processes, I have numbered each and every section. So everything has a number, everything has a place. Keep it simple. It makes it a lot easier. I have to take it apart, which To some of you, you might think, that's a crazy thing to do. But it is a lot easier. It's a lot more everything. It's even a lot more pleasant for me to construct this here, complete it, and then disassemble it, bring it over and assemble it on site. Hell of a lot easier for me. And you know, the terrain over there, you can't bring down too many large items. You can bring them individually down. So this has been made from start to finish to come apart up to the site and then down and be reassembled. This is the base structure or the floor of the shed. So all disassembled, ready to go. So now I'm going to bring it over to the site, bring it down to the bottom corner piece by piece and assemble it down there, and I'll show you how I do that. So the bottom frame for the shed is now on site, and I'm just doing a little bit more groundwork here to prepare for the shower before I put it in. So now I know exactly where everything is going to go. So what I'm doing is digging out a track along to let the water move from where the shower is down along that track there to water this section of the garden down here. So sugarcane likes a lot of water, so do bananas. So my intention is to bring the shower water down there and release it through small holes and a hole at the very end to let it all flow completely through. So I assembled the main frame for the base and placed it in exactly where I wanted it, with the cables and everything in the correct place. All of the groundwork and everything is done, and now basically what I have to do is put in the leveling system and level it. What I was going to use to level this is a DeWalt's laser. It will level and plumb, and it's one of the red line lasers that I have. I really like them. I've used them a lot in the past and I find them to be extremely good and extremely accurate. And there's pretty much a thing that once you have some way like the system that I have for leveling it, this is where the accuracy really comes in with this thing. You can let it up to basically the millimeter, and when you have it set then where you want it, and it's exactly on the laser line, which is the way that I like to have it, then you lock it in at the top.
I had to wait until the evening time to do this because during the day when the sun is out you can't see the laser line, so I don't have any kind of a system for beeping or anything like that. I just have a visual laser, and the only problem with this at night is the mosquitoes. You really have to sort of be aware that they do come out at night, and you just work quickly and get the job done. This is a view the following day from the top terrace, so you can see where the corner of the shed is, the decking going across to the gazebo area, and a nice view in the background. We will be doing more with the shed in the future, but thank you so much for watching.